So, hey, everybody, this is Dana with Queer Media Matters, and I am so excited to be here with the stars of the first ever lesbian led holiday movie on Lifetime, Under the Christmas Tree. It's Elise Bauman and Tattiawna Jones.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
So glad to have you two here. You two are trailblazers. You are dang old trailblazers starring in this first ever queer holiday romance. What has that meant to you?
It's fantastic that there's representation. That's what makes me happy, is that the more representation, the better. So the fact that I get to be a part of something like that, fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a really special process so far, and I can't wait for people to see it and for it to reach a really broad audience that might not include people who normally have access to queer media. I like the idea that this could be on in someone's living room who doesn't know that this is a queer movie, and then they just get to experience that where they might not have been seeking it out. And that's really exciting to me.
I appreciate that about this as well. I think that queer characters come into people's lives in ways that they don't expect. And if you don't think you know someone or have a family member that's queer or trans, like, this is the closest a lot of people get to understanding and relating to that. And to know that this is part of so many people's holiday routines. Like, all right, December 1st rolls around, it's time to fire up Lifetime and watch, a nonstop deluge of Christmas movies and holiday movies. Like, knowing that you get to be part of that, just like every other movie, is pretty incredible. And knowing that queer people who have generally been left out of this get to like see this connection, see this like rom-com. It's happy. There's not a coming out story. It's like, it's just a rom-com. Get to see that. It's doubly amazing on that respect.
I think the movie really strikes a beautiful balance of being accessible to people who maybe this is their first foray into queer media, but also having like a shake and a nod to the queer community and making something that people who are part of that community can be really excited about and proud of.
I love that you said that, because I'm going to actually bring that very specifically up soon. But I want to know, how did you find out about this film? Was this kind of like just a regular like casting audition scenario, or were they specifically looking for like queer and ally cast members and people that were like super, comfortable and great with the queer community? Because I know that's something that's happening more and more. Like with Batwoman, they were looking specifically, for cast members that identified or were like big allies. So would just love to know what that was like for y'all.
Yeah, I think they specifically were looking for people who identified as part of the queer community to fill these roles. And I know that was something that they were very intentional about. But beyond just filling these roles with queer actors, something that was so special for me was that a lot of the behind the scenes people were also queer identifying. And so, our director, Lisa Rose Snow, our DOP, Gail Yee, who are both fantastic creative people, having these key positions be held by queer people just created this really safe and fun environment for me to play in, which felt really I haven't really had that, to be quite honest. I think, honestly, this was maybe the set with the most queer crew members that I've ever been on.
Even with Carmilla?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know the exact number, the exact percentage, but it was
a good old queer
time. It was a good old queer time. Yeah.
Yeah, the same for me. So it came via the same audition process, and then they mentioned that they were looking for specifically queer identifying people. So that was fantastic.
So, okay, this may be embargoed because I noticed it is not listed in IMDb. So we're going to double check with Lifetime, our friends over at Lifetime, before we post this interview. But Elise, you once again get to team up with Papa Hollis, the one and only Enrico Colantoni. When did you find out about that, and what was it like having Enrico play your dad again?
I found out about that after I had already signed on to the movie. Um, it was like the very, very sweet cherry on top. I found out, I think, actually while we were in wardrobe fittings, and I met one of the producers, and she mentioned to me that Enrico was going, and Colantoni was going to play my dad, and I think I screamed. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I'm just imagining everyone kind of losing it over that. Like, this must be embargoed. It is
no,
not.
I think it's like I
Is it
feel
out and
pretty.
about? Dominic, you can put on your mic. Is it out and about? Are we allowed to talk about it yet?
You're allowed to talk about
All
it.
right. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, he played my dad in, what was it, the second season of Carmilla? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we just had this really special bond, where we just, I met him, and I don't know how to explain it, but he just immediately was my father in this scenario. And so getting to work with him again, where we already had this connection and this bond and this relationship formed, it was so much fun. And also, he's just such a fantastic actor that it's just like, it's a breath of fresh air to act with him, because you never know what's going to happen. And it's just like, I feel like every time I'm on screen with him, I'm surprised in the best way.
Tattiawna's nodding your head. You have wonderful chemistry with Rico too. Have you worked with him before?
I have worked with him before. I mean, Elise said it. He's an incredible actor, and to work with him is an absolute pleasure. He makes me better. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Also, you got to work with absolute Canadian TV and film icon Wendy Crewson. Like, worship. Crewson plays Alma, which was Elise's character's mom. And Wendy also happens to be openly gay, which is like amazing. So I know that Wendy has worked on some of the same projects both of you have worked on. I don't know if like overlapping or if anything you've worked with her over the years, but what was it like to work with her on this film? Because like she is such like Canadian, you know, she's done tons of work in the States as well, but like I always think of her as like such like a hugely important Canadian screen star.
Mm-hmm.
This was my first time meeting Wendy, and she's hilarious. She's absolutely hilarious. It was a pleasure to work with her. Every day was laughs, and yeah, it was wonderful.
It was also my first time working with Wendy. I think we have been in that.
You all have been
where, like,
in the same
in
show.
the
You
same
know,
thing. We just never,
IMBD, everything. Yeah.
But her and Enrico had also worked together, and so we all sort of like knew and Tat and I used to be in an acting class together, so we all sort of like knew each other through these various things. And like Tat said, Wendy is just one of the most hilarious people, and we were filming on a few overnight shoots, and things can get a little loopy, and there were a couple nights in a row where the four of us were just in hysterical laughter together, like to the point where they had to send up an AD and be like, could you guys maybe keep it down a little bit, because we were all in cry laughter, tear stained stitches. Like it was so funny, and then that just makes, you know, the acting so much better and more fun too. It was just a really fun set.
You all have such great chemistry. Like I love scenes where the four of you are together, because like there's this warmth and great chemistry all around. And just it looks like you're all having a really good time together.
Yeah. It was definitely a blast. We had such an amazing cast. Like Sean Ahmed was also just so funny. I watched the movie for the first time yesterday, and I was in stitches watching all of his scenes. Like every time he came on screen, I was like, yes, more.
Oh yeah. And then Ricky Lake. Hello, Ricky
Icon.
Lake. Icon. When I lived in New York for the first time, I got to go to the Ricky Lake show. And it's one of like my most favorite New York memories. But like I mean, Ricky seems like so down to earth and so much fun. Just being able to add her into this whole mix. Did you guys get to have any special of those goofy moments with her?
Oh yeah, she was also a blast to work with, and she also hadn't uh been on set in a while. Like she talked a lot about not having been, having acted recently, and I think there was something really like um fresh and exciting about that. And so getting to sort of like see that through her eyes and see like the magic of movies through her eyes of stepping back into that world for the first time in a long time, and like finding your footing again and finding the joy of it, it really sort of like sparked that for me again, where I was like, yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, Ricky was a blast. She's a total pro. I'm a fan of her documentary. She makes documentary
Oh yes,
films.
yes, yes.
I love her documentary filmmaking. So yeah, it was great to meet her and to work with her.
She's a real Renaissance woman, frankly. She does it all.
Mm.
And I didn't realize that she hadn't been on screen for a while. It was absolutely like no time had passed at all.
Right.
So I'm so glad to see her there with you. And there are so many details that this film gets right about being queer. And like to harken back to what Elise said earlier, it's something I really, really appreciate about this. And the first thing I want to talk about is the wardrobe. Alma and Charlie wear clothes that I would describe as very queer, like queer fashion. And I often think costumers aren't quite sure how to dress queer characters. It's like, let's put them in suspenders or a flannel or something. But your costumer really nailed it. Now, can you give us a little bit about that? Were you able to give, any feedback on what you thought these characters would wear?
What is queer fashion? What does that mean? Queer fashion.
It's hard for me to describe, but you just know it when you see it.
Oh,
Kat, do you want to go or?
no, you go ahead.
I know Elise can address this.
Yeah, I mean, everyone on set in all departments, I felt like everyone was very collaborative on this movie, which was really exciting to be a part of. I think in my own life and my own journey, my own style has changed and evolved a lot throughout the years. And so something I'm still, working through a little bit is wearing things that don't feel good on me. I find it more challenging to act then. And so it was really exciting to put on clothes that I felt really comfortable in and I felt really myself in, because it influences the way you even like sit on a chair, depending on like how tight your clothes are, how restrictive they are. If you have pockets that you can actually like put things in and that aren't like sewn up like so many women's clothes, drives me insane. And so it was really exciting to step into wardrobe that I felt really good and confident in, and that I could like therefore feel like I could just like be more myself, and everything was just like a little more easy on set, which was a really, really positive experience for me.
I'm glad to hear that.
I agree with you, Dana. I think wardrobe nailed it. They did a great job for me of just in dressing the character. I thought it was really great. They nailed it.
Yeah, you both looked like you felt really comfortable in your characters and the clothing. It just felt easy, which is nice to be able to see, like as a person watching and enjoying this. Another thing I really appreciated about this film was that the words queer, gay, and lesbian are actually like used. We don't hear queer too often, especially like the last thing I expected was to hear like a character just like casually say queer in a Lifetime movie. And there's no like gingerly like tiptoeing around the fact that these characters are queer. I know you're the writer, Michael J. Murray. He also wrote last year's gay rom-com, The Christmas Setup, which was very adorable. And you mentioned Lisa Rose Snow is openly queer. What was it like getting to work with all of these like really cool queer or very, very ally people on the set?
It was incredible just to have more representation in all kinds of different departments and all of those creative minds pouring into the story. It's that made it extra special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it really informs the film to have multiple queer gazes through multiple different departments. It informs the film, and it also informed, the experience of the set and how much fun it was and how comfortable I felt. And yeah, it was just a really fun collaborative experience.
The fact that we are talking about queer gays in a Lifetime Christmas movie is something that just like makes my heart jump. It's just like something I'm so excited to see, because I have for so many years been like campaigning for this, and to see this really blossoming just makes me so happy. And Christmas is like a genre that a lot of queer and trans people, Christmas movies in general, have like really been left out of. And fans like myself have really been pushing for years for that to change. We're finally really seeing like a really big shift as people in the industry and activists and advocates, in addition to being actors. What do you think inspired it? You think it was just time, or do you think that there was something that was more of a momentum behind this? Because Elise, I know that you are a big proponent of like queer stories and making sure that like queer people get good representation. So I'm just curious, as somebody who is in the industry and kind of watching from a different perspective than a lot of us as well, and Tattiawna, like, what have you like been watching over the last few years as a part of this industry?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a chicken or the egg situation, because I really do think that media informs culture, and therefore culture informs media. And there's this amazing documentary on Netflix called Disclosure Doc.
Yes.
Which is a great, I'm not going to say it as eloquently as everyone did in that documentary about how important representation and authentic representation is, and why it's actually like vital, and how that informs people's views of marginalized people, especially if they're not receiving that information anywhere other than TV, which a lot of people are. And so from a business standpoint, I think everything comes down to money, quite frankly. And that's why I think it's really important for audiences to like very specifically and intentionally decide what we are consuming. And so if we want to see certain things, it is, it's not just on the audience, obviously, but seek out shows like 20s, like Vida, like Pose, watch movies like Alice Junior, or The Other Half. Was it the half of it? The half of it. I think, and then honestly, things do well because people talk about them too. And so if you see something that you love, I think it's really important to talk about it and to share it, and for more, I think it's really important, especially for queer shows and movies, to be covered by queer media as well, because inherently you will see it through a different lens and be able to talk about it more intricately. And I think in terms of, we're experiencing a lot of firsts as a culture right now. And I think it's always about finding a balance between being really excited that we're getting this stuff, that we're getting these firsts, remaining critical and understanding why it took so long, and also pushing forward, always finding the next thing, always pushing for that never to be enough, so that it becomes the norm, and that it's not a first, it's not one of many, it's one of everything.
100% agree with you. Like,
Sorry, just went on a little
absolutely.
tangent
Listen,
there.
write this on my tombstone. What do you think, Tattiawna?
I think it is a direct result of the vocal advocacy over the last year and a half, built on the shoulders of all the vocal advocacy that has come before it, combined with the forced timeout that COVID gave us. And I hope, yeah, that's what I think it's a result of. And now that we are here, I'm just excited to move forward with it and get more representation, more stories out there, so that we can just add to the pile, essentially, and keep going more, and then others can take it further and further and further and further.
Love that. Because it's great to be the first, but it's 2021, and being the first, like, is one step in being part of the culture. And I totally agree with you too. Write that on my tombstone. Like, let's take this, like, yay, it's in the bag. First lesbian romance of a lifetime movie, and let's get some more. Let's bring in more people. Let's bring in more. Love it. The two of you are incredible. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me about this. I loved this movie. It like scratched all my like holiday lifetime itches, but it also had like all of this extra layering of queerness that I love. I think people who love lifetime movies are going to love it. I know queer people are going to love it. Thank you so much, and I'm wishing you the best in your publicity tour. And before we go, I want you each to tell me what your favorite Christmas movie is. You haven't gotten asked this in your press tour yet?
No, oh man.
Oh.
Every time someone asks me what my favorite of something is, I'm like, I don't know, I've never seen a movie.
Right. I know this. I have interviewed you about 700 times.
I didn't really grow up watching Christmas movies. I know that this is a terrible thing to admit. So, Kat, you want to take this one?
I think my favorite Christmas movie.
Think about it.
My favorite Christmas movie is Nightmare Before Christmas by Tim Burton. That's
solid choice.
Christmas
choice.
Movie, yeah.
Nice. I feel like I've watched as I was filming. I was like watching a lot of shows that happen to have like I love the Christmas episodes of all of my favorite.
You've done
sitcoms.
a Christmas episode.
I have, yes. But all the like Christmas episodes of my favorite sitcoms.
Okay, I'll accept
really
one of those.
And I also
narrow it down for me.
I've been watching The Nanny recently, and I will say that I'm fairly certain Fran Drescher was in the Christmas setup, which was last year's Lifetime's first queer Christmas movie. And I am fairly certain that we wear the same blazer at one point.
Get out.
So I think I have worn the Nanny's blazer. And so therefore, all of the Nanny's Christmas episodes are my favorite Christmas media. Because I'm obsessed and I love Fran Drescher.
Merry Christmas, one and all. Like, seriously, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that good stuff. And really excited and proud for both of you to be part of this very big, important thing.
Yeah.
Thanks so much,
Dana.
You're welcome.
So fun.